and you see, hello everyone.
Hello.
Hi, I've got a guest here, Deborah Gill, and maybe King's Table and Max might come on after. And you can see here on the left, it says live in the time.
I see it.
Yep, and it's So and see that on the far right end stream, which I don't end broadcast. Yep, okay. I'll cover the stuff. So
okay. I'm lagging. I'm having an internet connection issue, I think. You're buffering. Can you hear me? You're still buffering me. I wonder if I should go on, turn off my.
hello.
Okay, now I see you.
Yeah. It was a problem. A problem. Wasn't so. So anyway, I'll share screens now. It wasn't responding. So that's why I get out of there. But yeah. So anyway, we'll see here. I did a video on the 5th of May. Brian Denlinger, you should be ashamed of yourself. Brian comments, he says, I don't control anything on King James Video Ministries.org. That might be true. I don't know, but he should. But his username is KJVM Brian Denlinger, and his other channels have the King James Video Ministries name of some sort.
Well, he's the owner of that. The way I understand the name, the franchise or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
So whoever has that has to be somebody under Brian.
Exactly.
It might not be outright his website, but it's somebody under him.
Yep, and they can't create a forum without his permission. And Faithful Servant said that it isn't Brian's website. I'll just read everything what he says. It is a website somebody else made. Also, I don't only follow what Brian says. I disagree with Brian on some points, but Brian is a brother in the Lord, and I've learned a lot from him. However, Brian is not my final authority. So
yes, he is.
Yeah. We can see that, but
yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to enlarge this screen, and you can do. I'll play the video, and if you ask me to pause, so then you can do commentary. I'll do that.
Okay.
Need for King James Video Ministries. That's what this video is going to be about. Going to be bringing out some details about our need, which is a new ministry office. We're just going to come right out in the beginning, tell you what the need is. We have a GoFundMe page, and I've talked about that in other videos and things in the past. But so we need the financial, but more than that, we need prayer. Okay, so let me just say right at the very beginning of this video, before I get into the history of King James Video Ministries, why we are in the situation we are in, the why, the how, the when, the where, whatever. We're going to get into a lot of detail, stuff that a lot of people do not know, even people that have been around for quite a few years. I'm going to be talking about some higher detail type of stuff in this video, explaining how King James Video Ministries has grown over the years. But just at the very outset, I'm going to tell you what the video, how it will end, and that is that we do need the money for expanding the ministry, for growing the ministry. And I'm going to tell why and the whole thing as we get into it. But more importantly, and this is key, You say, well, I really can't afford anything. Well, then please, I want you to spend your time in prayer. All right. Because what we need more than anything else right now, we need
you need me to
a place to
pause at
open up
any
for sale.
stage,
Okay.
Deb?
Because right now,
Well,
the
yeah,
Lord
you can pause now because I think everybody should pray for
Yep.
Brian that,
Yep.
you know, he repents. So I
Yep.
have to agree with that.
Yep. And he does own the name King James Video Ministries, because we can't create a site, King James Video Ministries, and sell products when he owns the name. That's illegal.
Right.
See, so it has to be whoever runs that a new site must have the permission from Brian.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I'm sure Brian would have to be an admin at least of it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure he's an overseer.
Yep.
isn't anything that would work for us in our price range. Right. There really isn't anything on the market. So I'm asking right at the beginning of this video, before I get into all the details, if you could please fervently pray that the Lord would open up a place for us to buy, where we could relocate our ministry from the town of Bridgewater down to the town of Patton, where our new ministry office is. Okay, the town of Patton, this surround.
I just want to say here, if I was in Brian's shoes, he's got a property on there. Install solar panels on his roof. He's off grid, doesn't have power. At least the solar panels can give him power to for his cameras and all that. In one of his rooms in his home, he can have as a studio and do his videos from there and upload.
Well, I don't see what's wrong with what he's got right where he is now. It looks pretty nice to me.
Apparently, which I'll play it all. It takes him from where he lives to where he goes now, an hour and a half drive there, then an hour and a half drive back.
Oh, so this isn't on his property then?
No. See?
Okay. And
Area.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, say it that way. It doesn't have to be in town, in other words, but we really desperately need the prayers of God's people. We have it's a very desperate need to be down here because we spend, as many people have heard, it's a 3-hour round trip up and back when we have to go to the office. So live streaming, Skype conversations with people, talking to people on the phone, answering people's emails. That's all stuff I do, besides my normal studying and preaching. And, I spend a lot of time doing that stuff, counseling people and whatnot. And I have to cut out 3 hours of my day. And a lot of times we'll get up and we'll leave here at, 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning just to get up there. And we're there till 3, 4 o'clock and we got to leave to be able to get back. So it's really taken a lot of time. It's a lot of wear and tear on our vehicles. And so we're really worn out from this whole thing, all this travel. And we can't keep affording to buy, vehicles and running our vehicles into the ground and everything because of all the miles we're putting on them. And it's not like we're driving super highways here. Okay. It's, where we live, it's, the roads are a little bit harder on vehicles up here than in other places where people might live, especially in the wintertime with all the chemicals that they put on the roads. It just destroys our vehicles. So, but please, if you can donate to the GoFundMe thing, or just another way of donation, sending a check or money order to the PO box, or just PayPal on our website. That is a really big need right now. But like I said, what is more important, and it doesn't cost you a thing but your time, and that is, we need the prayers, the fervent prayers of God's people. Please, I am begging you for that. If you can't donate, you don't want to donate, whatever else, that's not even as important. We need serious prayer. Okay.
The solution I give to you, Brian, as I said a minute or so ago, is save up for solar panels, put that on on the roof of your property, and at least then that gives some power. Have your computer and in one room that you can film, and the rest you don't want your son to be online. Fine, he doesn't have to be online. To do everything from your car at home.
For the Lord to open up a place for us, for sale or whatever else. Okay. Now let me get into some more of the details. First of all, I want to talk about the history of radio ministries, because I realize there's always new people coming along. You might think, I wonder how, Brian got started in this whole thing. How did it happen? Well, way back in 2007, I believe it was, a lot of this stuff is just, my memory gets real foggy when I get back that far, because there's so much that's happened with the ministry that's just blown my mind. And I just think, wow. And I've forgotten people's names, and I've forgotten, things and details. So please, I'm sure my enemies could cut up this video and cut up stuff that I said in the past and make me look like I'm contradicting myself or something. Sorry, my memory.
He always,
But sometime in 2000,
he always calls us his enemies. If only he knew that we only want him to repent.
Yeah, I don't hate Brian. Now, I just want to say that I've had peace since 2015. Right now,
Right.
As you know, I went on that Matt's live stream. King's Table went on first, and then later on I went.
Right.
And anyway, I did everything what they said. I still have peace. So they got me to cry out, but I still have peace, not because of the crying out, because my faith in Jesus, and in faith that he died for my personal sins and was buried and rose again on the third day. So,
amen. You were saved before that.
Yeah. So I have peace now for good. See,
amen.
about being saved.
Yeah.
See, and I'm not an enemy, Brian. So I don't have anything against him. I don't.
Well,
trust.
I do. I have to say that I do. I hate when he lies about things, and I don't hate Brian himself, but I do hate what he does.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you, but I don't want him harmed.
No, I don't
want him to trust Jesus fully, not
exactly.
Before, when I kept on giving my life to Christ and crying out to Jesus, I did all that before anyway.
Brian,
I was trusting in that, not Jesus.
Right. Brian is too prideful to listen to anybody. He don't want to hear it. He already knows it all. So, he won't listen.
Yep.
There's not much you can do in this case.
No, I can't force, but I can pray for Brian. I have peace because I trust totally in Jesus. That's Yep.
That's the same peace I have, brother.
Yep.
7. I was going to different Baptist churches back then. I'd try one for a while, and a year or two, whatever else, much earlier than 2007. And I would go and I would get to know the pastor, and sometimes I would teach Sunday school, sometimes I would preach in the pulpit. But I kept seeing this thing of just, tone down your message and don't get too controversial, and you're ruffling too many feathers. And it was just kind of, I wanted to serve the Lord so bad. But yet these churches kept stopping me from doing it at the level that I knew I need to say these things. I need to get this stuff out. And so I began to look for a way that I could get the truth out. And I kept hearing this thing of, there's 60,000 differences between the NIV and the King James version, and for most of my life I had used an NIV, New International Version, and I kept hearing the 60,000, 65, 60,000, or 63,425 or something, and I thought, okay, they're contradicting. Gail Riplinger saying one thing, Peter Ruckman saying another, D.A. Waite saying another thing, Sam Gibbs saying something else. And I'm thinking, okay, if it's X number of words, it should be the same coming out of each person. Why is there contradictions? And I thought, well, I could write to each of them and try to wait for them to contact me back, or I could actually do the work myself. I can actually take my NIV that I used for 15 years, got it when I was 10 years old for Christmas the one year. My parents bought me an NIV, New Schofield Reference Bible. I've showed it in some of my old videos. And I used it up until the time I was 25. I got saved when I was 25, right around that area there. And I can take my NIV and I can take the King James Version. And I'm also going to include the newest, today's New International Version that they were coming out with back there in the mid 2000s. I think the NIV New Testament was in 2001, and the NIV New and Old Testament whole Bible, if you want to call it a Bible, that thing came out in 2005. So it was just hot off the presses, and around 2005, 2006 is when I began my work, and I spent, I don't even remember, probably about a year collating, going through, comparing. I picked certain very important words that appear in the King James Bible, and I would see, okay, the King James Bible says this, the NIV says that, TNIV says this, and I would write it down. Over 20,000 references times 3, looking up in 3 different, versions there. And what I came out with was 5,000 documented word perversions in the NIV, TNIV. This is my work that I did. It took me a while. And basically, like, here's the word souls. And you can see there, King James Version, here's the verse. There's the King James, there's the NIV. There's the today's New International Version, how they change it. And, I did the work. Nobody can say, well, you just took other people's work. I had this new version at one point, one of the Baptist churches I was, spoke at. And he said, all you King James only people do is you just repeat each other's work, and that was an insult, but I took it as a challenge. And I said, okay, I'm going to repeat somebody else's work. I want to do
that. That is actually a very nice thing he done there. That's pretty nice.
Yep.
It looks very neat, very, very precise. So I'll give him credit for that.
Good. Thank you, Deb. Right. Yep.
Do the work myself, which I did. Right there's the work, and going through and things that they added, things that they took out. A lot of different words in there. Took a while. And then I'm thinking, okay, I got this thing done. Now what do I do with it? So I came up with this idea. Well, I can print them myself. Not a very good idea. On my own printer. And then I'll buy the little machine that makes the ring binding thing, and I'll put it in there and get the clear sheet, for the front cover and the heavy cardstock, and I did these things all completely myself. Didn't really want to go with a actual publisher, but right there is the oldest address for the ministry, Ministries, PO Box 161, Portland, Pennsylvania, near where I was living at the time in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And I thought, okay, I got my work.
That's the next county over from me, by the way, Jason.
Okay, Deb. Yep. Good. Yeah. I just stopped when you or pause when you comment.
Okay, yeah. My sister lives in Lancaster County. She lives in Lidditz, so.
Yep. So I'll play again.
Okay.
And so I decided that the best way I could get this thing out in a way that, would be able to help people really understand it, because I could show a lot of other things too, would be in the form of a video. And so I bought my first video camera, And I'll show you something else here in a minute, but I bought my very first video camera, and I recorded my very first DVD, which is this one, From NIV to KJV by Brian Denlinger. And right there it is. This is my first ever DVD. On the back there, I had a bunch of different things written. You can pause it and read that if you really feel like it. So, but I bought the, these are actually stickers. I did the old printed DVD sticker and stuck it onto a, DVD minus R, blank DVD or whatever else. And I sent these out to Peter Ruckman, Chick Publications, Sam Gipp, Kent Hovind at the time, Tex Mars, I can't think of who else. I think Cutting Edge Ministries or something like that. And Gail Ripplinger was the only one that contacted me back. And she said she wanted to sell the DVD. So I thought, hey, this is great. And I was, at the same time I was doing this, I was also working, doing tree work, cutting trees down for people, and also wood turning. I was making wood turnings. I don't have any of them here right now that I could show, but I've shown those in old videos. And so that's what I started to do. And at the same time, I was also trying to get truth out in whatever way I could. And the very first recording I ever made, this is the first time this is ever going to be seen on video. This is really going to be something. I did a 4-part, audio sermon type of a thing, lecture, if you will, on the rapture, the pre-trib rapture. Right there it is. Volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see right there.
Volume 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So,
yep.
But I covered, I'll just show you these. Volume 1, Introduction, Dispensationalism, Matthew chapter 24, part 1, parts 2, 3, and 4. The time that they're there, Matthew chapter 25, False Prophets, 27:08. There's when that, or the length of time that it's there, and then the conclusion of the thing. So, couple hour long study, and this is the very first recording I ever made. It's audio, never released it or anything. There's probably things I would improve, I'm sure, from this old thing, but this was being done around the same time that I was doing my NIV to KJV stuff, and I was also writing gospel tracts. I had a number of different ones that I had written, and I even wrote a little book on the King James issue and had a pastor make fun of it. King James only church. And I did a video on him. It's on the secondary channel. His name's Kelly Sensnig. I was going to his church at the time, and he just thought it's a good book, but just kind of
you have
laughing about
3
it
channels,
or whatever.
Brian.
But wasn't a Bible believing Christian. Still wasn't a Bible believing Christian. Closed his church down along with all the other hirelings out there. But this tract here, 6 easy things you can do if you want to go to hell. So Brian's changed so much over the years. I used to enjoy listening to him. He's so sarcastic now. I've always been sarcastic. It's just part of the way I do things. I'll just show you these just in case you're curious. Number 1, go to a church building and faithfully attend every service. One good thing you can do if you want to go to hell. Number 2, try to find professing Christians that are hypocrites. People will hide behind hypocrites, in other words. Number 3, establish your own unbiblical righteousness and suffer for Jesus. Number 4, do lots of good works. Number 5, confess your sins to a man. And number 6, educate yourself out of a belief in hell. So there it is. I don't know if you can pause that and read that or whatever else, but that's my one tract that I did. Then I did, Do You Make God Sick? It's a tract for modern Christians, modern church people, and it goes into the thing of false conversion and whatever else. Again, I've been doing this stuff for so many years. This was probably 2007 when I wrote this, And you know, I still have a few of them around, but just to show something here, where's that? Yeah, the Robert Breaker and his little devils that are his buddies that are now turning against him. They've said different times that I reject the blood, that I don't preach the blood, which is odd because I've never done that. But it says here, you must realize that you have sinned against God and that your only way into heaven is to be washed in the blood that Jesus Christ shed on the cross. Okay. Right up in here.
Yep. So in then he had it in those things, but when he does videos these days, he's more the asking Deb. Yeah. Hang on. Oh, right. I didn't realize. I didn't realize you were.
I know. Somehow I lost the connection, and then I tried to email you, and then I tried to message you. It was like, "Hello, Jason, can you hear me?"
Yeah, I'm sorry. And when anyway, I realized in the end. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. So tell Linda I said hi. Hi, Linda. I think she's in the chat.
Yeah, that's okay. You can see the video.
I can see the chat too when I go on to that. So
good.
Yeah.
So somebody comes out and says, Brian Ellinger rejects the blood. They're lying. 2007, probably 2006,
but he doesn't preach the
is
blood.
when I wrote that.
Hardly ever. I hardly hear him preach the blood. It's more about the asking with Brian.
Yeah, exactly. He might teach the blood, but then he adds to it by asking instead of just believing.
Yep. And when he does, it's very hardly ever. That's the thing. And in that track, if that's from 2007, yeah, that's a long time. We didn't know what he did in 2007.
Yeah, that was before he was married.
Yep.
That was before he was married, and he on camera, he was a much different person.
Okay.
Much different. Yeah.
And you know Brian more than me, too.
Right. Because I was following him for a long time.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So much for that. But I wrote a number of these gospel tracts, and we have on the back of this one, again, our house church at the time, Bible Believers Fellowship, right there, the website, and there again we had our P.O. box in Hopeland. So we're going way back here, but so it started out with this, from NIV to KJV, my very first DVD, and then the second one that I did was this one, Ridiculous Bible Perversions of the New Age. My little interesting photo there on the front, Benedict with an NIV under his arm. So, and you get back on the back cover there, and the Passion of the Christ thing, his right eye's darkened, interesting little occult stuff, and so. But this one is still available on my channel. You can watch this whole thing, the Ridiculous Bible Perversions of the New Age. So I did that, and then when I did my very first DVD, this thing here, I did not know how to do video editing at all. I literally just recorded it and turned it into a DVD. It's terrible. It had a little music intro at the beginning that was me playing on a keyboard, and I can't play music. I mean, it was awful. I didn't even know what royalty-free music was at the time. I had no idea. I didn't know how to do Sony Vegas movie studio type of stuff like I can now. I had no idea. So again, I was learning a lot of things and I was wearing a white dress shirt and everything, and I was into the whole Baptist thing. This video here, if you watch it on my channel, I'm in a suit and tie and the whole thing. I was a good Baptist for a while, but so this these two came out, and then I decided that I would redo my first initial horrible video, and I redid it as this one, from NIV to KJV. A lot of the same things, but this time I'm actually there, sitting there, showing things and whatever else. And I have I actually had bought a printer that could print on DVDs. So I was buying printable DVDs. Again, I'm doing all this stuff myself. And so there's the little flames on there. The actual one, I messed up printing one of these, but the actual set
And
that I was
you're
selling at
still
the
in the
time
live
had
stream,
one
Deb?
with the sky
Yep,
and the
I'm
other
still
with
here.
flames.
Good, because
So,
I can't see the, I can only see the
and when I came out
video.
with this thing,
Okay.
again, Gail Riplinger was the only one selling it besides me at King James Video Ministries. Again, you can see the old address down there in Hopeland, Pennsylvania. And right after I came out with this whole thing, the NIV came out and said, we're going to do the 2011 NIV thing and whatever else. I think this would have been right around 2010 or so when I brought this one out, when I re-released it like that. And I was selling it, by the way, too, as a package. I would sell this and this together back in those years. So I was selling the two of them together. And again, printing these things myself, which was a horrible amount of work. And so, yeah. And as I began to learn a lot more about video editing and putting in music, royalty-free music, buying royalty-free music, $100 to $150 per CD for royalty-free music with the license and everything. And I was buying animation software and had upgraded my computer, upgraded my camera, and trying to grow the ministry, trying to make better video. And I came out with my next one, which was a really big one. Still probably my best, one of my best videos I've ever released. And that's this here, the Real Bible Version Issue Exposed. Full thing on my secondary channel. If you haven't seen it, a lot of hardcore stuff right there. You have the Pope. I think that was Paul the Sixth or something like that. It was the one right before John Paul II. And right here is Kurt Aland, who is behind the new versions, the Nestle Aland text that you hear, that the NA text or the whatever, or the NU. Sometimes they'll have it as that. But right here, he's meeting with the Pope. So the guy that's compiling the new version, Greek text, and he's here with the Pope and a cardinal there. So, and there's a lot of really hardcore stuff in this one. But
Hey,
this thing,
Jason.
Yeah,
I don't even remember how long now.
I wonder what happened to Brian's glasses.
I don't know. Normally he does wear glasses. I don't know.
He probably got contacts. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, could be. Yep. A play.
Yep.
I used to always talk about that in my older videos, but it's been so long. I think it was about 5 months or something like that to put it all together. It was a lot of work getting everything, just right in it, and writing out a script and then recording the audio, getting it to sync with the music and the whole deal, making images come on and showing text and whatever else. This one, I think there could be some others out there, but this one actually shows the texts of Westcott and Hort and Brooke Foss Westcott and Fenton John Anthony Hort, the two guys that came out with the first revised version, basically the text they wrote, the text that later became he took up the work, Kurt Aland took up the work that Westcott and Hort started. But I actually show the pages from the books that were much disputed for a long time. So there's no dispute those guys were into the occult and they were closet Catholics, essentially. And I show the actual pages from their books, photo scan pages. So not just quotes, you know, and whatever else with a footnote. I'm showing the actual pages in this thing. So then after that, after this one, I did a video on the house church movement. I don't have one. I couldn't find a edition of it here. So I'll just go like this and put up a picture of it there in my hand. See, here's the house church video DVD I did. And on the inside, there you can see, on the inside, there was a audio sermon and a DVD. So there you go. That was another thing I started to get really into, the thing of house churches. I actually had written a tract on house churches as well. So a lot of different stuff going on there. But trying to think of what else I was going to say about all that. But here's the point. I was producing more and more and more physical, you know, stuff like this that I was going to be selling. Okay. And I was making, you know, I wasn't definitely not getting rich because nobody knew who I was back then. And, but I was producing product and I was paying taxes on this and the whole deal. And somebody told me, actually, my oldest brother, it's kind of funny, he's a contemporary Christian. And he came out and he told me about YouTube. And I thought, what's YouTube? And I went and I checked into it and, you know, talking to different people, and they said, yeah, you know, you ought to get a YouTube account or whatever. And
Jason.
I thought, well, okay.
Yep.
And so
I just wanted to let you know that the co-founder of YouTube, Chad Hurley, he lived around me. He went to my high school.
Right.
And then him and his partner sold it to Google. But back at this time, I believe he still had it, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yep. And I think it was a mistake of him to selling it to Google.
It was. Yes, it was the biggest mistake he's ever made, and I hope he's not kicking himself for it now. I don't know if his family still lives here, but he's a very rich man in any case. But
but I don't like Google, and what I want to say is I've noticed the last few days a lot of channels I was subscribed to, YouTube's unsubbed me, and I keep subscribing and they unsub me again and again. That is censorship.
Yeah. So,
and I don't like it.
Yeah, they make a lot of videos disappear too.
Yeah, I don't like Google. Yep.
Yeah.
Started to put, you know, I did the YouTube thing for a little bit, and I thought, well, I'll just put some logging videos on there just to see, because you have to open up a YouTube account to be able to comment on other videos, even back then in 2008. Okay, fine. So I got onto YouTube, put up a bunch of logging videos. Originally had called the channel Husky 394 XP after my big professional chainsaw. And I put up some fishing videos. I put up some different things here and there. And
hail or something.
We're getting some hail outside right now. If you're hearing the noise up there. All right, sorry about that. We're back. Past a little storm passed over after some prayer. Lord answered prayer. So anyhow, what I was saying is, I was producing product here. I was, you know, this thing of YouTube. I got on there and I kind of thought, well, there's some stuff on there. There's some videos, and I decided I would put out a few videos just to kind of promote the website, you know, show people a little bit or whatever else. And I started getting some people that were buying my DVD, the Real Bible Version Issue Exposed.
Yes, Deb.
Ryan is backstage, he said.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ryan. How are you?
I'm well, Deborah and Jason. How are y'all doing? Yet another Denlinger stream, I see.
Yeah,
Hi, Max.
Max, you got the link to come on?
Wait, do you mean Max Bauer?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Oh, I didn't even know he was still around.
Yeah. There it is, Max. So I'll just wait for you to come on, and then yeah, I'll wait for him to come on. Then I'll go back to, because I can't see the chat room when I'm covering the video.
He's having difficulty with his internet right now, so at the moment. So
Right.
hopefully he can come on then.
Okay, I'll go back to the video. You guys can let me know when he comments and says he's in the chat room then.
Okay.
Got it.
And you both tell me when to pause when you make commentary.
They're buying this, and I had a guy ask me. He said, would it be possible for me to put this on Vimeo?" Marco Ponce, I think his name was, and he put it on Vimeo, and because I had said, yeah, okay, I guess, all right. And I'm thinking, this is my work. It's not copyrighted or anything, but okay, you can put it on there. And the thing got all kinds of views. And that guy later on got led away by Martin Richling and deleted my video and everything that he'd previously stood for. And I asked him the one time, I said, "When did you get saved?" And he said, "When I met Martin Richling." Okay. Don't go over to his house for Kool-Aid, please. Little Jim Jones reference, if you don't know what I mean. But
would you pause if you don't mind?
But
Yep.
Isn't it funny when all these Ruckmanites or Ruckman descendants go pick on the other Ruckmanites or Ruckman descendants, go drink the Kool-Aid and join the cult of Martin Richling, yet here's old Denlinger sitting happy on property he bought from Patreon funds which I'm kind of shocked no one ever took him to court. They could have seriously sued the daylights out of Denlinger for all that Patreon money where he bought all those fancy cars and that giant property out in the woods of Maine.
Right.
Yet he wants to talk about a cult.
Yep. Deb, do you have anything to say?
Well, the way I know, from what I know about Martin Richling, he has the right gospel. So whether he's saved or not, I don't know. But he does have
from
the
what
right
I've
gospel.
been told by Paul Frudivore, he apparently knows Richling. And from what he tells me, there's been quite a bit of misinformation said about him. Now, I still don't know if he affirms the Trinity or not, because there was a scandal started about that. But it's a small YouTube world. Kevin Zacher and Wayne Crook attacked Martin Richling just like they attacked Ed, just like they attacked me, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Hi, Frank. Frank's here.
Good.
Oh, hey, Frank.
Is he waiting in the Frank? Are you waiting in the Hang on. You can come on now, Frank.
He's saying he'll come on in about an hour, Jason, if you're still here.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. I'll go back to the video then.
I prayed about it, and I had a lot of counsel from different brethren at the time, and they said, you can reach more people by putting stuff out for free on YouTube. And I had some brethren in Australia, actually, that I didn't have any kind of donation stuff early on my website, and they said, "Could you please put a PayPal donation button on your website, because we would like to donate to you?" And I was, no, I don't want to do that. No, because I was making products. I was thinking, hey, I'm going to be making more DVDs as time goes by, more and more and more, things that I'm going to be bringing out. And I don't
like Anderson.
I really don't want to do that.
you want me to keep playing or just pause it?
Well, no, I'm just observing. Isn't it funny how the Andersonites hate the Denlingerites and the Denlingerites hate the Andersonites, but they're happy to make merchandise of you? They'll happily sell you their DVDs, even though Paul Wittenberger has been exposed for selling products that directly go to a Hindu ashram. Denlinger didn't want to put a donation link, but now if you send him about $500, he'll give you an external hard drive of most of his videos. However, those of us that have been around for a while remember his videos defending the Trinity. You know, when I saw the list of that thing, I had a good laugh because, mind you, a decade ago, I also watched Denlinger. I don't watch Denlinger anymore. But
Right.
Denlinger, when you saw that list of videos as I was watching it or reading through it in the PDF, I noticed there's about 50 to 200 missing videos, but he claims that's all his videos. That's a bunch of junk.
Right.
Wow.
Thank you for. I wouldn't have known all that. I'm so sorry about that, Matt, mate. Yep.
Well, no, I don't expect you to know, Jason, because there's very few people in this community that have been around as long as I have. I was watching these people while still in high school, but Denlinger started to show his hand very early on, and then, of course, he just slowly but surely morphed into what he is today. It's just like Robert Breaker. Where did Robert Breaker get that nutty idea about interracial marriage? It's because Peter Ruckman taught you were mentally sick for being a race mixer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
It all
started
traces
at the
back
head
to
of the
Ruckman.
snake.
Yep.
Oh, what did you say, Deborah?
I said it all started at the head of the snake.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep.
When you're selling product, my time was my own. You know, I really wasn't, you know, I would talk to people, I'd witness to people. Sure, absolutely. It's just part of the Christian life. But, you know, if people requested a video, well, it was, well, you know, maybe we'll see about that. Maybe I'll put out some DVD on that in the future. Because, you know, everything I was putting out was for sale, which is perfectly fine. You know, because I'm making a product, I'm taking my time to create the thing and whatever else. But they said, you know, why don't you start to accept donations? Why don't you start to put out some of your videos for free and just see what happens? Okay, I prayed about it and I thought, I'll start doing that. I'll put some stuff out for free. And so I started to put videos on YouTube and to make a long story short, here I am today. And I don't really sell that many products anymore because I've just been putting things out for so long for free. And so my point being,
Please pause.
reason,
Yep.
you know, that we.
This is the Denlinger that when he went to Patreon complained about how he'd been doing this for free for all these years and got no recognition, demanded that you pay $5 to fund his scam. Then you fund his scam, and now he's back to saying, well, I don't want donations. Well, I'll tell you why. He is legally responsible for every dollar of those donations. And as a result of that, I'm shocked that he's not under investigation, or maybe he is, or that no lawsuits were filed against Denlinger, because that was a huge amount of cash Denlinger received on donations. It's the same sort of stuff you see in the Word of Faith movement.
Well, the same goes for his GoFundMe. I mean, he has to use that money for what he claims that money is for, or it's considered fraud.
Right. And Bob said on the GoFundMe that Denlinger has received 20,000 US.
Oh, that can definitely land him in court on some felony charges. Oh, yeah.
He has to use it for exactly the reason he's raising that money for. And if he uses it for anything else, it's fraud.
Well, it's just like the Andersonites. David Berzins is one of the first people Anderson ever ordained in that cult. Yet what's interesting is that his original church, Word of Truth, no longer exists. Instead, the Shell Corporation Word of Truth exists, which still has a PayPal donate button. That means they're using that as a shell corporation. Does anyone not notice all the similarities between these Ruckmanite derived cults or these extreme King James only Jack Hyles derived cults?
They all want money.
It's not just that they all want money, they all end up committing fraud.
Oh, okay.
Right.
We are talking about our financial needs, is because of the fact that I made that decision years ago to give away the material for free. I mean, nobody even buys my DVD anymore. Even, nobody was buying it, I'll say, when I used to have it for sale, because it was just online for free. And, there's that thing you got to weigh out. I'm trying to get this truth out to people, but I have to make a living. And what do I do? And so, because we accept donations, because we, basically work for free for most people, you don't have to pay anything to watch any of our stuff.
Well, yeah, at least right now.
People ask,
Yeah, you don't have to pay anything now. It wasn't the case in 2019.
Yeah, when he was on Patreon.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know what was funny about that is he would make these people pay for the Patreon to see the videos, and yet he would still put them on YouTube too.
I know, right? I know. He would then talk about all of this Patreon and whatever other private content videos you had to pay to see. But when he found out nobody wants to pay to watch his videos, he'd put it on YouTube. I'm waiting for Chad Wilson or someone like that to start releasing some of these videos. It'd be sure entertaining to watch.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I think it was most likely must have been 2018 Patreon, because last year he wasn't on Patreon, and yeah. So it's 2020.
No, you're right. It was probably 2018, Jason. I've been on YouTube long enough now where it all starts to blur together.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
what are your needs? Could you please tell us what your needs are as a ministry? That's what this video is. That's what this whole thing is about. If you believe in what we do at King James Video Ministries, then donate to the ministry. Don't waste your money going to some church building and trying to pay
There
this.
we go.
That's afraid of anything, and he's trying to pay off this big building and whatever else. If you want,
How many cars and ATVs does this jerk have? I have to commend Ed Fenninger. He did make a great point with those videos a couple of years ago. How does Brian afford all these cars, these ATVs, but don't give you money to the so-called Babel buildings?
Well,
How do you get the money for that? Well, let me make one point, Deb. He had those vehicles prior to the Patreon money. Then he only got more after the Patreon money. So how did he get the money for the vehicles in the first place?
I guess just donations. I guess people just donate to him through PayPal. That's the way I understand.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be a useful idiot to do that. What were you going to say, though, Deborah?
Well, he's not very wise with his money.
He's not very wise to begin with.
Well, true. But I mean, especially with money, he's not wise with it, because instead of buying all these junkers and running them to the ground, he should buy himself a good car, have it seal coated in the bottom because of his weather conditions where he lives, and drive that. It just doesn't make sense.
Deborah, now you watch Deborah. He's gonna go do that now that you said it.
Okay. Well, I hope he does. It would be more of a wise investment than buying junkers all the time and just letting them rust.
To me, it was funny. They started calling him dumb slinger or dumblinger. I'm sure that infuriates him, but I bet you he doesn't even understand why people say that. He really is dumb.
True.
I mean, what kind of an idiot commits a fraud with $20,000 and then posts the results of that all over the internet for everyone to see and archive.
A fraud? What do you mean? His GoFundMe?
No, I'm talking about all the Patreon money that he spent, which we can't
Oh,
account. He then
oh,
posts what he did with it on his YouTube channel for everyone to see. But
oh!
we're unsaved, hellbound, lost, demon-possessed bastards.
I didn't see that. I've never seen him give an account for the money he makes.
Exactly.
I
He
didn't know.
won't. He won't, because if he did, he would probably come under investigation.
Yeah, yeah.
Then, of
I
course, he would make videos saying how the Catholic Church is sending the police to persecute him, that the Jesuits are finally on to him, despite the fact that Brian Denlinger's soteriology or doctrine of salvation is largely Catholic.
yeah,
When I used to have my original channel, Strict and Particular Baptist Radio, I had a video with over 10,000 views, and it was my Brian Denlinger expose. That was about, not a year ago, but earlier than that, where he made a video denying the five solas, which
yeah,
includes faith alone. If you're going to do that, then you are maintaining Catholicism. Catholicism also says salvation is not by faith alone. So that's
well,
for someone.
all
Go
he's
ahead.
doing is playing word games with that, because he's saying if you have faith alone and solidified alone and this alone, you don't have it alone. It's actually with these other things. So they're counting it as three things, not alone. He's playing
Well,
word
yeah,
games.
that's exactly what the Catholic Church maintains about baptism. If you read the Catechism of the Catholic Church, they're very emphatic about baptism having a literal role to play in salvation, that you're lost effectively without it. Well, Denlinger may not say that, but he's substituting it with other things.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, in Brian's case, if you don't believe what he believes, you're not saved to begin with, and that's how he gets around the eternal security issue.
You know, I
So,
don't know if any of you remember this, but I do. Years and years ago, he made a video warning about Mike Hoggard on the issue of eternal security. And this other video is still up. It was a channel called Just a Bible Believer. He uploaded a video called The Tragic Fall of Brian Denlinger. This was probably about 2011.
okay.
And it was at that time where he actually incorporated the clip where Brian began denying the patience of the saints, or eternal security, whatever you care to call it. Ever since then, it started to show. And there again, where did he cite that? Well, it's just like Denlinger, or just like Breaker. He got it from Ruckman. Salvation, according to Ruckman, in the entire Old Testament was by faith works.
Right.
So that by default, Ruckman denied eternal security in the Old Testament, because if they didn't perform enough works or didn't have sufficient faith, then, well, lost.
Well, yep. They still deny that too. All the Ruckmanites, they deny that there was eternal security in the Old Testament.
Well,
and
remember, I was a
deny
Ruckmanite.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now you do.
Yeah, now I do. Well, I believe Brian too when I first came across them, when I first started following him, about the Bible issue. And the Bible issue is something that he was very good with, I have to say. And that started the ball rolling, so to speak, as far as my eyes being open. But
well, I personally think that's also what started the ball rolling, because Denlinger found a subject on which he could acquire a following.
Yes. And it wasn't his original idea. He might have picked up on it. I mean, he did it because of Ruckman defending the King James Bible. But, when he did do it, he was pretty solid then. He was a little more well, you can tell by when he first started making videos and how he is now. He's a totally different person.
Oh, one of my biggest YouTube regrets was that I didn't archive a bunch of those early videos to save all these years, because if I had, then
Yeah.
I would have his old stump pump videos, which were his first videos. I would have the videos where he defended the Trinity. How devastating would it have been if I could have just uploaded a clip of Brian Denlinger explaining and defending the Trinity?
Right.
Okay, I'll play now.
Sure.
This ministry has borne a lot of fruit over the years, and I give the Lord all the glory for that.
Oh no.
So here we are today. And I'll explain what happened. I was doing a lot of that stuff, and I was starting to transition to YouTube. And we had our house church, Bible Believers Fellowship, down in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And it was growing slowly. We'd get some new people come. We'd meet with people. We'd go out. We went out door to door every week on Saturday morning, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of DVDs and tracks and whatever else, passing things out. A lot of it was my material that I was putting together. And, and again, I was spending so much time on that. It was just crazy, making DVD copies and printing out things and putting together our track packs that we'd give out to people. And, there was very little money coming in at that point in time. I was just donating my time completely to it. And
little Brian has a wham.
Very
He got, this is funny.
And the Lord brought my wife along into my life.
Man, I tell you what, that wife of his, he changed once that wife of his got in there.
Yeah, I think that's what did it, really.
I firmly wonder if it wasn't a case of sexpionage, because she admits that she was in the Department of Defense and did quite a lot of spy work in the military.
Yeah.
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 As I'm going to tell you right now, Denlinger did not seek out Catherine. Catherine sought out Denlinger.
True. I remember that.
I've always wondered what exactly happened, because as soon as that nutty woman got into his life, Denlinger by that point was already heretical. She changed that man even more.
Yeah.
Now she's really got him because they've had a kid together.
Well, let me tell you something about Brian. He was thrown out. He was handing out tracts at my sister's church, and he was thrown off the property. So that's number one. And number two, Brian married a woman. I think he said she wasn't saved when they met, but he got her saved. So.
Oh, how convenient. Every time, see, isn't this funny? When you confront Brian Denlinger about the issue of adultery, everyone is an adulterer except him.
And he said he got her saved. So, and that's,
that's just so convenient. He got her saved.
Well, he recommends that too.
Huh?
He recommends that to the single men to find a wife and get them saved. That way they know that they're saved. That's what he says. So
I should just go commit adultery or commit fornication and not care?
Well, I don't know if he did that.
That's what he's saying.
I'm just saying that when he met Catherine, oh yeah, come to think of it, well, no, I'm not sure right with that. I'm thinking that he met her. She wasn't saved. He got her saved by telling her his gospel, and the rest is history. I don't know how they got married. I guess
that's exactly what happened with Steven Anderson. Steven Anderson went on a mission trip years ago to Germany, met Susanna, and then got her saved so he could run off to Vegas for a literal shotgun marriage.
Well, Brian had only a what do you call it? They only did a coverture marriage, I think they called it.
Right. Keep your marriage coverture away from the government. I know. Which basically means they don't have an actual marriage. They're still all these years later shacking up.
Well, that's, some people would say that. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it personally.
Well, I don't have an issue if you want to keep your marriage.
I think it depends on how committed they really are to each other, which I think they are. So.
Well, but my
But
point is that I'm not a fan of the government messing with marriage. In fact, shoot, all
right,
this queer marriage from about 5 years ago, I said it then, I'll say it now. It's a thing that should not be, because the government does not have the right to legislate marriage at all
right,
for anyone.
right,
Now,
exactly.
that being said, it seems to me like they found a convenient excuse to hook up so that they could perpetuate their relationship. Not to mention, it was a good PR boost for Pastor Brian, as he used to call himself from time to time, because now he's got the wife and now he's got the kid, you know?
Yeah, yeah, he definitely uses it to his advantage. That's for sure.
I only hope that little Oliver is not having to deal with his father's rage, because we have seen several instances of that from Brian. And oh
Yeah,
dear, I only hope that Brian doesn't treat his kid the way he's treated some of the people here on YouTube.
I hope not. Yeah, I don't even want to think about anything like that.
Okay.
And that changed everything, because now, okay, now I'm not a single guy anymore. Now I have to start making more money. Now I need to think about some things. We moved up to Northwest Pennsylvania to help out at a Baptist church up there. We were lied to. There's a big story about that. Not going to get into all this stuff. And I really was basically giving up King
I
James
just want
Video
to play
Ministries while
a
we were
bit,
there.
because
I was
otherwise it's going
making
to take
very few
several
videos.
hours
They were
for the
just
live.
No,
complete,
I know. Just keep going, Jason.
yeah,
Just
the
keep
whole
going.
faithful Baptist thing and whatever. And I was trying to do my part. I, actually preached the one Sunday the pastor wasn't even there, and I took over the church for that Sunday. He could go on vacation, and him and his wife and everything. And I preached many, many times in the pulpit. I had old videos, up. I took them down because I don't want to promote
I
their
remember those.
um, and but it just did not work out for a lot of different reasons. They had lied to us to get us there, and they just basically wanted to use us for slave labor. Me for my video abilities, my wife for her computer abilities and things. It was a terrible situation, a very terrible
Pause it
situation.
if you would, Jason.
So we moved back down to Lancaster County.
Now we see why Catherine was brought in. My wife for her computer abilities. Did anyone else happen to notice that as soon as the wife came along, his subscriber count shot up?
No, I didn't really notice that.
It took a little while, but it did. And I've always wondered if they were running a botnet. But I noticed also Denlinger's advertising abilities suddenly increased. I bet you it was the fusion of his video making skills with his wife's computer skills.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Right.
County, Pennsylvania, and that is when the Lord really put it on my heart. Okay, I need to be able to provide weekly studies for people, and I would come out with them, and they'd be ready for Sunday morning. And I did that for a couple of months, and we were desperately looking for a place to live, a place to move to, because we couldn't stay. We were staying with relatives. We couldn't stay there for long. It was a bad situation again. I mean, if you're saved, you're born again. You have the relatives that you deal with. You know what I'm talking about. So, Lord finally opened up a door for us to move to. Had one of our viewers actually suggested, why don't you check out Maine? Because we were looking all over Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, a lot of places, and somebody said, this one guy, brother, he said, check out, Maine. I thought, Maine? What are you talking about? When we looked, we came up and actually bought some land. Okay, and I'll show you here just briefly what we're dealing with. Okay, I'll just kind of draw a rough thing of the state of Maine. Kind of comes up, if I remember correctly, and kind of goes like this. Very, very rough. Like that, we'll say. All right, terrible drawing, I realize. But up in the upper part here is a county called Aroostook County. It goes like that. All right.
Right.
The northernmost county in Maine, and it's one of the biggest counties in America. It's a huge amount of land up here. Okay.
My question is the state of Maine near Boston, Massachusetts?
Well, technically, they're both in New England, but Maine is the northmost state on the western seaboard. It's right up by Canada.
Yeah,
Right.
he's pretty close to Brother Jay. Brother Jay's right on the other side of
Oh,
the
that's funny. Maybe we ought to see if old Jay could just hop over the border and say, "How you doing, Ray?"
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. That there's some bad blood there, and I can't blame him. I mean, if I'm
No, I
right,
know.
didn't Denlinger say some horrible, horrible things about Jay?
I
Yeah.
think he did at one point. Yeah, there's Jay was hurt terribly. So let's just
Well,
leave it
yeah,
at
and I
that.
mean, Jay was one of the big voices back in the day dealing
Yep.
with Aaron Denlinger being a big fat racist. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, I hope that I've been the one in the videos I've made for Jason to tell everybody the problem is Ruckman.
Right. Right.
Yep.
I shouldn't say up here because we're not really in that county anymore, but and so there's a road. When you come up in here, there's the town of Holton right here. I'll just write the H, and then you go up Route 1, and up in here is Bridgewater. All right, well, in between there, not quite in between, but there's another town right here called Littleton. I'll signify that with an L. We bought some land in the town of Littleton, some bare land. Why? Because that's what we could afford. Okay. We never wanted to be a burden on the body of Christ. We realized, okay, we're bringing out things, putting things out. We are supported by the brethren. Okay. People that are doing, they're donating to the ministry because they see our heart's desire to get truth out. Right. Again, I could have stopped at any time and gone back to this world here and said, I'm just going to start producing material again. Right. I could have done that. And by the way, let me just say this. This is a future direction. I'll talk more about that here as we continue. But
he's been saying
the
that.
neat thing about this is these are.
I was going to say, he's been saying that for years. There's
Yep.
old videos he's pulled where he was promoting DVDs years and years ago. He's
Yeah.
still doing it. He doesn't do it now, though, for a very simple reason.
He
It
don't have
doesn't
to.
make him money.
Exactly.
My
You
video.
can give out as many. Look, cults do that. They'll give out the free literature. The Jehovah's Witnesses years ago ascertained one of their best places to hand out free stuff is Africa. They will find it so much easier in Africa to make converts because people are happy to receive the free stuff.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it costs him money to produce every single DVD, package it, ship it, distribute it. It doesn't cost him. The return on that is far less. That's why he's trying to figure out a way to make money.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, he needs income with all the stuff that he's bought. He's not getting it like he did in the Patreon days of a couple of years ago. Because
Right.
he's not getting it, he needs to figure out some next get-rich-quick scheme to fill the gap, and he can't do it.
Max says if Brian doesn't want to be a burden, he could get a job, and he's correct.
I agree with that. There's a lot of things with Max I disagree, but that's one I'd have to agree. Yes, if he doesn't want to be a burden, then go get a job.
Or not. It's up to him.
What did you say, Jason?
Is Max coming on to StreamYard or up to him?
I think he said in the chat earlier, which I told you, that he's having the internet repaired at his house.
Oh,
I don't know if he'll come on or not.
I don't understand. So he's not able to come on. Yeah.
Yep. It's nice having him in the chat, though. It's good to see him again.
Okay.
I feel like putting into these videos, and YouTube can't come along and steal my work, monetize my videos. Other people can't come and take my work from me and chop it up and whatever else. So this will be coming back in the future.
Does he not understand anything you put out to public domain for public consumption is subject to scrutiny? Does he all these years later? Mind you, I was watching Denlinger as far back as about 2008 or 2009. Does he really, all these years later, not understand that if you put it in the public eye, people will scrutinize it.
Well, I think he has such a loyal following, and I don't know if his followers follow every single video he makes, like a lot of people. They might catch one here and there and not hear the contradictions or anything. But he has such a loyal following that they're willing to.
I'm just going to the bathroom. Sorry. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
They are willing to go against what they know is the truth in Scripture.
Well, see there again, Deborah, I kind of this is where I've theorized, does Denlinger have his wife doing some witchcraft? Because ever since he opened up the comments again, it's as if these people are under a spell.
Yeah, I wondered that myself. I have, because it's some sort of craft going on. It's I think it could be a mixture of brainwashing, because you notice how many videos he does on the same subject, like the Trinity. He has to get that. He has to get that in their minds. Yep.
It's reinforcement. Well, and not to mention, he's known about Project Monarch or MK Ultra for years. Here along comes Miss Spook wife, and I firmly think that they've probably been doing that all these years. I have to laugh when he talks about Hansard Knowles and the beliefs of the Baptists on Babel buildings. I have Hansard Knowles writings. They didn't have a problem assembling in a church building.
Right.
But still, you're right. They have to maintain some kind of monarch mind control. Is they repetitively hammer the identical subjects. I've noticed in the last few months, he never makes original content anymore. It's the same old videos.
Yep. It's either his enemies or the Trinity.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember when Brian used to say in his videos, if you deny the Trinity, you're lost.
I never heard him say that I remember, to be honest.
Oh, we're talking about videos from years. We're talking about videos from years and years ago, probably before you ever popped up in his comment section years ago.
I remember when he said he would never tell anybody who was post-trib that they weren't saved either. And that's...
Yeah. And that became a whole big thing of, let me just condemn dispensationalists because we disagree on a very small point of dispensationalism. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
It looks like Jason's back, though.
Yep.
But we originally bought land in the town of, like I said. Why? Well, because we looked into the price of, buying, actual house or whatever else, and we just couldn't afford it. The money just wasn't there. We weren't going to go into debt and then be constantly having to plead for people to pay off our, mortgage or something. So that's what we did. We bought our land in Littleton and then we went up and bought an old, very rundown place. It didn't even have running water when we first bought it. There was no heat. We moved in January of 2014, and it was pretty rough for a few months. But you can watch the old videos where we're at the place. A lot of the stuff I put out with the bookshelf behind me and everything, it was done there in Bridgewater. Again, if you've been familiar with the ministry, you know these things. If you're new, it's probably news to you. But it was 13 point whatever miles between our place in Bridgewater and our land in Littleton. And the idea was we were going to build a house, an off-grid place back on the land in Littleton. You say, why go off-grid when you're an online ministry? Doesn't make sense. I've heard that for many years now. Well, the reason for going off-grid is because you can live a much better life that way. You can grow your own food. It's a lower monthly cost and everything else. It's just a life that we want. You can heat your home for free. Heating a house up here is very, very expensive. Okay.
It's also a good way to hide from law enforcement.
Right. Yeah, I'll keep playing.
No, keep going, Jason. That's just what I'm saying. No one ever mentions that. He went off grid.
He spent a couple.
Yeah, I'll say this one thing. He went off the grid into a remote area in the woods where it's harder to get him.
Right.
Would anyone else not notice this? Okay, so whatever NWO groups he may have angered, although he's probably part of one, or whatever law enforcement that would come looking for him, they're going to have to go deep into the main woods to go get him on a compound that's probably armed to the gills. I know in at least several of his videos recently, like that firewood chopping video he's made, he had a sidearm, so he's probably got a compound full of arms. Yet he has the audacity to talk about Jim Jones.
A couple $1,000s on heat because we had a wood pellet stove and it was not placed in the right position and everything else. But that's another story. Then again, we're constantly trying to diminish our cost. Okay, we had it down in the basement, warming the house through heat vents and ducting and whatever else. Okay, that's not working. So let's move it into just one room and close off rooms that we aren't using. And then let's move it into and let's close off more rooms. And we've always tried in our lives, being in this ministry, we've always tried to do things cheaper as time goes by. This past winter, 2019 into 2020 was our cheapest winter yet. We spent very, very, very little money. And that's the direction for the future of the ministry. And again, what other ministry is like that? You say, well, I've had people say, well, I think the Lord's called me to give to another ministry. I'm going to keep watching you, Brian, but I'm going to give to another ministry. Okay. What ministry are you going to get, return on investment, spiritually speaking, from, like you get from here?
Oh boy.
Okay. And there's buying $1 million buildings and whatever else. We're spending, a few thousand.
Yeah, I'm going to play the whole video
anyhow,
so that it's
the
in
big
full.
story was that we were going to build back at Littleton, back on our property. And we had a horrible neighbor, a Roman Catholic from New York, just a horrible drunk. I tried to witness to him so many times, and he was always too drunk for me to really get a good witness in there. He built on our right-of-way going back to our land, and I got a chance to witness to him. He was finally sober. He flat out rejected the gospel, and he was dead in a few months. And we hadn't even discovered that he had built on our easement. We weren't sure where it was. And when we realized he built on our easement, his property comes up for sale. And we're thinking, oh, great. And I contacted a lawyer and the whole thing. And he said, there's not much you can do because he did this illegal thing and he's dead. And now they're going to auction off his property. And the new owner is basically going to get, a house that's sitting on your easement. So you're going to have to go through paperwork with the new owner, and it could get really sticky. And the guy said, I would say to you, young man, he's an older man, older lawyer, and he said,
Hi,
my
brother
advice to
Phil.
you is either buy the property that he's selling, either you get that property first.
Hi, Phil.
Or
even
I
I can't see.
Well, we tried to get a mortgage, and no, didn't happen. And which was totally against what I believe in as far as being in debt and whatever. And so we had no choice. And we put our property up for sale after building a few buildings on it, going back in there, and just a nightmare, that whole thing. But we put our property up for sale, and in 8 days it was gone. It was sold. And we had to spend a few days, because the bank down in southern Maine that this woman was dealing with that bought our property had a whole bunch of Jesuits on it. I'm sure that had nothing to do with this, but and it was just they stalled. And we looked all over the place for properties. We were going to move down to the southeastern most part, Washington County, which is down in here. We were going to move down there by nearer to the ocean, and it didn't work out. And we were going to move kind of into the center part, a little bit above Bangor, and that didn't work out. And we were just getting so frustrated. And we had our place in Bridgewater, but the place in Littleton was now gone. And so we were thinking, okay, we have a lot of stuff that needs to, we'd put our stuff in storage in a storage building down in the town of Holt, and the mice were getting to it. So we're just pulling our hair out, just, oh, what are we supposed to do? We have to find a new place. Well, we found a property way over into here. This kind of comes down like this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is called Penobscot County. And we found there's a town of Patton up in here like that. And we found some land, and it's a beautiful area down here. If you ever heard of the Appalachian Trail here in America,
160 acres, Brian.
is right about here.
Right.
Is Mount Katahdin, and that is the start of the
brother Phil,
or the end of it, depending on which way you go. But Mount Katahdin there is in a place called Baxter State Park. It's right near Patton. Patton is the closest town to Baxter State Park, and it's breathtaking area, really beautiful area. Well, we found some land down there for sale, and more than we wanted to spend. And I just kind of said, well, Lord, I know that we aren't going to get this, but I'm going to offer them $20,000 less than their asking price. And when they say no, then I'll just go on to the next property search or whatever else. Because there's no way they're going to drop $20,000 off the price. That would be crazy. Lo and behold, our realtor literally said, I know what you're trying to do, but that's a really low offer. And he writes back a few hours later, they accepted it. Huh? So that's where we are currently standing, right here, in northern Penobscot County. So from here, where we're at, up here, back up to Bridgewater, is 1.5 hours, as I said earlier. It's a 1.5 hour drive, right? That gets taxing. Okay.
Jason.
It's, it's a lot of open road.
Ryan needs to be left back in again.
Oh, right. Okay. I can't see that. Yeah, thank you.
I know. You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah.
I apologize. You can flog me later. Maybe as penance, I'll go do my prayers and my devotions on Brian Denlinger's 160 odd acres. You got to love this guy. We're all against the Babel buildings, but we're not against the 160 acres of compound that you could put a Babel building upon.
Yep. Should I play again?
Well, how much of this video do we have remaining?
44 minutes have been played, and it's 1 hour 23 or 24 minutes.
Well, this is going to be this will be a long stream. I mean, why are you reviewing this video though, Jason? I mean, I know
wanted to go through it all with the comments. He does own King James Video Ministries. That's my whole point, and I wanted to go through the whole video anyway. I wanted to do that.
The thing I would wonder about is if he registered KJV Ministries as a corporation, because I can't find any IRS records that he's tax exempt.
Right.
I have no idea about any of that stuff.
By the way, Deborah, if you wanted to type into the public chat on your phone, you should notice that if you go to the actual video, you will notice that adjacent to the like and dislike functions, add to your playlist, you'll see a box that says chat. You click on that, and then you type in the bar at the bottom.
Oh, okay. So I can go to the actual video, which I'm not on right now. From
StreamYard, you can read the live chat, but you can't reply to it. You have to go to the actual video in order to do that.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know, because I was like, this is all new to me. So.
Yep. And as long as Deb's still in StreamYard, as long as yeah.
Right, but she didn't understand how to type in the public chat, Jason.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
So it's not just back roads or whatever. If we had to take back roads, it would be more like 2 hours. All right. There's a lot of just, there's an interstate that we take sometimes and whatever else. And we can kind of get a little bit below an hour and a half, but it's pushing it. So, it's a lot. So our desire is to be able to eliminate Bridgewater up here like that and have something down in this area down in here so that we're, I can actually
see. My suggestion, Brian, was put solar panels on the roof of his property, right? And in one of the rooms of his property, film his videos and upload it. So he's still off grid, but he whatever he needs, he's got solar panels. That's all.
Well, the only problems with that are you're a reprobate, Jason, according to Mr. Denlinger and crew. I mean, what was it JT does, or as he calls himself now, Sinners to Repentance, had made a video 8 months ago calling you a perverted antichrist, so they're probably not going to listen to you anyway. Number two, how's he going to get the money to do that? What is he going to beg and say, we have a need for a ministry need. We need solar panels so we can heat our house.
For the solar electricity, so he can do his videos there.
Well, yeah, but Jason, how's he going to get the money to do that? Because his track record is he just come on YouTube begging and begging for donations.
Right. Okay.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I mean, come on. I'm sure you see what I'm saying. If he were to do that, he's either already got it and doesn't care, or he's going to have to beg people for more money after he's already stolen $20,000.
Yep. Yeah, I just want to play it, and I won't pause it anymore.
Oh man, 4 o'clock. I gotta go.
Listen,
we'd like to be able to do a lot more to help people, which again, I'll be talking more about this with the office idea. But what we're going to do with the Bridgewater place, because I'm sure that there's people that would say, well, what are you going to do with the house that's up there? Well, again, it's in a very bad condition. It has no well anymore. I was ill-advised by a false convert that if I would pour concrete into the shallow well, it's always overflowing, which means that some pump's always going. We've had so many headaches over that whole thing as well. It's got a shallow well in the basement. Okay, it overflows, it goes over through a pipe into a hole, sump pumps out. We've had sump pumps break for years, and the basement starts to flood, and it's just power outages, and I got to go get the generator in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, out there getting the generator started and pouring down rain, and plugging the sump pump into the thing so we don't lose our basement. It's been very trying, and but I was ill-advised that if I would pour concrete in, that would stop the well. It wouldn't overflow anymore. Yes, it did, and I had to re-break the one part open so that it would flow up through the pipe and go out. So problem wasn't solved. In fact, it got worse because now the place doesn't even have running water, and we lived that way for a while, having to haul water into the place because of this false convert that lied to me, essentially. Only the finest people, some of these enemies. So that's where we're at right now. Again, if we have a place that's down near to our land, it's going to be a lot easier. And again, so why don't you just go do this, or why don't you get a job? That's one of my favorite ones. I do have a job, all right? I work for the body of Christ. I work for the Lord Jesus Christ. That's why, the vast majority of what I preach and teach is, actually suggestions from the brethren. And I deal with, hundreds of different people on a regular basis, talking to them through Skype, emailing back and forth, talking on the phone. I've met people locally here.
You never talk to me on the phone, Brian.
I deal with a lot of people, and I don't talk about a lot of that stuff. I don't film a lot of that stuff. It is just what it is, and I'd like to be able to do it better in the future, more efficiently. This is not efficient. An hour and a half between where I work that I have to try to commute to that and whatever else. And
you're
so
still on StreamYard,
that's the
Deb?
whole situation with that.
Deb, you're still on StreamYard? Hi, Deb. Oh, yeah, she's there. Yeah. Hang on. I can't hear Deb. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, another thing that we have looked into, because I know I've had people ask the question, well, your property, why don't you just get the ministry office, build it on the property? Well, one of the reasons we bought the property so cheap is because there is no electricity or phone out that way. Okay. It ends down the road quite a ways. And so in order to get it up through, it's, what is it, $6 per foot or something like that, I think, isn't it?
$6 per foot, unless you have an easement agreement with a neighbor and you're trying
Yeah.
to
Right.
together, then it's
Then it,
$5.50.
yeah, but it's essentially $6 per foot. I've never measured it, but it would be probably in the neighborhood of 20 to 30,000 just to get electric to our property, which we don't even want here. It would be,
permit fees.
yeah, excluding permit fees, excluding, any kind of work, tree work I could do, but I don't know if they would even let me do it. They probably, say if I cut trees down that people would get coronavirus or something.
And then there's
Little
some
joke.
kind of a development fee. I forget what it's
Yeah,
called, but
and
it's a specialized
permits from the town, permits from this and that, whatever else. You're going through a swampy area that's, wetlands or something. So best case scenario, it would be probably $20,000 to $30,000 just to get electricity to the property here. Again, that's one of the reasons we bought the property, because there's no electricity out there, which means the price of the land goes way down. I mean, we didn't spend that much for the property. It was just around $300 to $350 per acre. Okay, so
Are you still there, Deb?
show me another ministry that's operating with this kind of cheap operating cost. And then we would, after we put electricity in, we'd have to, of course, get phone lines put in, and then build a place. So
You're just
that's
watching
why
it.
the
Okay.
GoFundMe thing of $40,000 is our goal. That would buy us a place in the area, a cheaper place in the area. It's not going to buy us anything real nice, but that's okay. Again, I can fix up the right place. Not going to have a well in the basement with a sump pump. I'm not doing that again. Or right of way. Okay, if you're a young person out there, don't be tempted by cheap land that has legal easement, or it's called a legal easement, or a right of way going back to it. Don't ever do that. Okay, and don't buy a place that has a well in the basement that overflows and has a sump pump to get it out. Oh, but it's cheap. There's a reason it's cheap, right? I've had to learn that. But again, why are we buying this stuff? Not because we're just totally stupid. I mean, we were ignorant of some things, but again, we're going for low cost things so that we're not a burden on the body of Christ. We live very, very, very much below what most people would even consider poverty type of things, because I'm dedicating myself more to speaking to people and doing things for free for people. Would things have worked out differently if I would have kept on making products for sale? I don't know. I have no idea. Another thing that I have written down here, I have some notes written down. We don't want Oliver, our son, if you don't know about that, we don't want our son to be raised with online internet access, on grid, online, the whole thing. We're keeping him away from computers. And so if we had an on-grid home where computers are real accessible and whatever else. It's just not the kind of an upbringing that we want for our son. It'd be more
Right.
expensive, and this is much cheaper here, and he loves it. He loves, you'll see him in the videos. He's out running around in the woods and riding his bike around the woods and everything else. It's the life that we want for our son. So, but now on to the thing of the properties in the area. Again, what can you pray for? There's a thing called tax acquired properties. Okay. Here in this area, I don't know what it's like state by state, but in the state of Maine, if somebody doesn't pay their property tax for 3 years, first year they get a lien placed on their property. And then after 3 years where they don't pay anything, the town will basically confiscate the property, kick the people off of it. And back a few years ago, when we started talking about the thing of needing to relocate from Bridgewater down closer to home here, there was actually 3 different tax acquired properties that were available. And we were, excited, and we thought they were all, in and around the town of Patton. And so the one was a trailer, just a little single wide trailer in the town of Patton. And I thought, hey, that one, we might, you put a closed bid in on it too, and then they would decide, okay, well, you have the highest bid, you get the property. And so I thought, hey, this might be good. This little trailer, single wide trailer or something, an old one in the town of Patton. Doesn't have any land. The property tax would be cheap, the whole thing. And we went, and they had bulldozed it already. Thinking, okay, before the bidding even started, you bulldozed the thing. I don't know if some neighbor bought it and just said, I want that as a lot or whatever else. And they, okay, and then they took it off the market, or I don't know. Then there was another place.
I might skip ahead, see what.
I didn't buy any of the new ones yet because of reason number 2. And that is, I really thought that they were going to be shutting my channel down. I've been thinking that for a while. It's the Lord's doing that it's still going, I guess. So there's still people that need to be warned and whatever else and taught the word of God. Great, praise the Lord. But I just kind of thought, well, 2018 is going to be it. So I can end 10 official years on YouTube. Boom, we're done. And now in 2019, I'll just make some videos. And then when they shut me down permanently, when they close down my channel, then I can release this with all the 2019 videos on it. And I thought that at the time. Now it's going to be 2019 going into 2020. So I will be releasing this, but I'm pretty much going to wait till YouTube says to my channel, which will eventually happen, I believe. Because it just doesn't make sense for me to re-release this every year or 2 or whatever else, and with just, whatever. And for the people that bought this original one of the original first 10 years, I will offer, whenever YouTube shuts us down, I'll offer, if you send me yours, I'll put the rest of the videos on for free and send it back to you. Or we'll work out some other kind of a deal that, I'll make sure that you get the missing videos. So I'll be sure of that. But this is basically going to be the future for King James Video Ministries, I believe. Some form, not this big, because I don't need this much space for doing just big studies, detailed studies. But, this is what the future is going to be for King James Video Ministries. Offline type of videos in the future, because then they can't be controlled. They can't be messed with. I'm real sick and tired of all the nutty stuff that goes on YouTube. All the people that, again, if you don't know, different people, I've seen new people come along. They say, why don't you try Patreon? And I think, boy, you're new, aren't you? We were on Patreon. Was it 2016, I think, when we started that?
No.
Or was it 2017?
2018.
Well, I think it was 2017 because it was when we were.
No, because I was in the USA, right? In 2017, and you weren't on Patreon, so it was 2018, Brian.
first moving here because we were talking about our 3 ministry needs and stuff. So my wife's sitting over here. Yeah, I think it was late 2017 into 2018 is when we had Patreon. And all these goons, Edward PF123 being the satanic pale demon that he is, and he
Edward is saved, Brian Denlinger.
Come out and he was just making so many videos, trying to take my channel down and whatever. And he said at one point, if you don't like my videos against you, exposing you, then just go put your stuff private. Make your videos private. Well, Elmer Fudd, we did. We went to Patreon, and right away, I mean, it was just almost instantly, these infiltrators are coming in and they're stealing my private videos that are for patrons, and they're putting them on YouTube. And I contacted YouTube, and YouTube said, we don't see it as a violation of your copyright. Of course, they're going to side with any demon that comes against me. And so, long story short, one of these guys was a criminal, had a history, criminal history. And I made a private unlisted video for my patrons just to show what this guy is and whatever else. And they said I doxed him as a result of that. And they deleted my Patreon account. So that was one of the biggest headaches I ever experienced, the whole Patreon.
You did plenty of other things,
I will never
Brian.
be going back to Patreon for any reason, ever again. So don't suggest Patreon. But anyways, that pretty much covers, I think, the whole situation that we're in right now. With the way that this world is going right now, with all this lockdown, stay-at-home stuff, and whatever else. I mean, I've met police officers in this area. They're incredibly nice. Town officials, I get along with them just fine. People are very laid back up here in northern Maine. So there was actually, I think, down in one of the southern counties of Maine, there was actually a police sheriff, and he said, the governor, Janet Mills of Maine right now, she was saying that people have to stay at home and whatever else, and they should be stopped and told to go home. And this sheriff came out and he said, I'm not going to put the life of my officers at risk. And he said, we're not living in Nazi Germany. I'm not going to have them out stopping people saying, where are your papers? Can I see your papers, please? So if you're in a state like California or New York or someplace like that, leave, okay? Leave as soon as you can, because it's only going to get worse in the future, okay? The next pandemic thing that comes out, like the Black Pope said, it's going to be much worse. They're going to take more rights away and everything else. So if you can leave, okay? So I wasn't really worried about the thing of driving from here up to Bridgewater with all this pandemic stuff. We were able to do the driving without any harassment from the police or anything else. And I mean, we're not even hurting anybody because we're going from our private residence to a private residence. So what can they really say? We're not going to be, endangering anyone, so not really a big concern. But of course, some bigger, pandemic thing comes out this coming fall, or whenever they release something else, they could say total lockdown. And we're an hour and a half away from where I work at that point in time. So again, there is urgency here. There is just, hey, we need to do something. Okay. And I don't know if I said this earlier, the thing about what are we going to do with Bridgewater? I don't think I did. Let me cover this as well. What are we going to do with the Bridgewater place when we get something down here? Are we going to sell that and make money or something like that? Well, quite frankly, we're not going to get anything for the house in the condition it's in right now. It's actually worth more to us to tear the place down and use the materials to build what we need on this property. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to deconstruct the Bridgewater house. It's an older place. It was built in 1930. So there's actually some old growth type, lumber in it and stuff that I've seen in working on the place and whatever else. There's some real good construction material. There's windows, there's some doors, and a lot of good materials that we want to use here at our property. So that's what our plan is. When we get a new place here, move everything out of Bridgewater, get all settled down in here, and then in our spare time, go up there and tear down the old place. I built a shed there as well, and I'd like to tear that down. So there's a lot of things we'd like to get out of there, tear the place down, and then I'm probably going to sell the property to a neighbor or whatever else. One of our neighbors helped us quite a bit, next door neighbor, older guy, and was actually, raised right beside our house. So that's the plan, just to inform people of that. Again, we're not going to waste anything. We're not going to just say, oh, you buy us a house and then we're just going to, sit on that property and not do anything with it. We're going to use everything. You're not going to waste your money giving to King James Video Ministries. All right. But I'm going to show you now back there in the future studio where I'm going to be recording offline videos, detailed Bible study type of things. Because again, I got to just say this. We've had different families and they contact us and they say, we'd really love to support your ministry, but we can't do it while you're on YouTube. Well, I understand why. Okay, you get done watching this video and it's going to come up with a bunch of junk. You might also be interested in this and, suggestions from YouTube after mine is done. And, I get it. A homeschooling family might want to watch videos teaching doctrines of the Bible, but then they get vexed by the filthy stuff that pops up on the screen. I get that. I understand that. Offline videos, go back to this type of a thing. It's you buy the video from kingjamesvideoministries.com in the future, ship it to you. You can put it on your computer. You can put it on a flat screen TV. A lot of those have the little USB port on the back, from what I've heard now. However, we're going to do it. And then you'll be able to, have preaching and teaching from the Word of God without the drama of YouTube and all the other filth of YouTube. So that's the plan for the future. We are also considering writing books. Again, we're in touch with some brethren on that. But we need to cut out this 1.5 hours each way thing. That's what is really the problem right now. So I'm going to show you back in the future studio here in a minute. But please, again, if you don't want to donate to the new ministry office thing, or you can't, that's fine. But please pray fervently that the Lord provides something down in the Patton, Maine area. Okay? Let me show you what's back here. All right, we're back here in the future recording studio. I'm unplugged from my audio recorder, so sorry the audio is not quite as good. But behind me here, I have a whiteboard, a big one that I can use. And I also have my banner here that I had made for the videos that are coming up. They'll be called Biblical Truth and Doctrine on Dispensationalism, Biblical Truth and Doctrine on, the catching up before the time of Jacob's trouble. Whatever subjects I want to talk about. And of course, there's a little bit of an inside joke there. Biblical Truth and Doctrine, BTD, my initials, Brian Troy Denlinger. And so, but this is where I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to have, a table here and whatever else. We'll be doing a lot of very detailed studies, a lot of really interesting things. Again, information that we've been sitting on for a long time, studies that we've been wanting to do, but it's just YouTube's not the place for it because we have to put out a lot of detail, and it's not worth our time putting a lot of the stuff out on YouTube. But this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out from this. And, right now, we're living in this trailer, trying to, again, save money. We do things without debt. And just to let this be known, our big dream was to build on this land. We were going to build a house, a little cabin on this land. And we were really looking forward to doing that. But after praying about it, we just said, you know what? The ministry has to come first. We have to spend our money this year and put all of our energy, everything we can, into getting a new office. And so that's what we're going to do. And so that's why we need your prayers. We need fervent prayers on this thing for the body of Christ. If you're a friend of the ministry, please pray for us, that we need a place to open up. And I mean, something could open up very cheap. We could be in very quickly. I realize that the economy going the way it's going, the housing bubble is going to burst. So there's going to be a lot of cheap houses around, but What condition is the money going to be in at that point in time with hyperinflation coming? So we don't really want to play the market and whatever. We're asking for prayers from the body of Christ that we would be able to get a new office in the area so that we can say, okay, that's done. Build the place that we need to build here on our property, which my wife and I, it'll be 8 years this month that we've been married, and we've never had an actual home of our own the entire time. And it's because I've sacrificed. Quite frankly, I've sacrificed for the body of Christ. I remember my father-in-law, the one time when I went out there to get my wife out in Iowa, and he said to me, he said, so, explain to me what you do. And I said, well, I, make sermon and preaching videos. And I said, I answer a lot of emails. And he said, now, how do you get paid for answering the emails? How do you get reimbursed for that time? Because obviously you have to charge something. And I said, no, I don't charge anything. And he, huh? And, that seems strange to people when they think about, a preacher and organized religion. They think to themselves, well, you have to get paid for counseling people and whatever else. I never have. I've sacrificed a lot, and you don't see it on camera. You don't see the people that I've helped.
I wouldn't have a clue.
The people I've helped on the phone, through Skype, through whatever.
I've never
writing back and
spoken,
forth.
Brian, I've never spoken to you on phone or Skype.
You don't see that. But we've sacrificed. We're still sacrificing. But we're asking for the prayers, number one, of God's people. Number two, if you want to donate to the GoFundMe thing or just through the ministry or whatever, to help us get an office closer by so we can be much more efficient. Once that's done, we'll be able to actually build on our property a very simple, low-cost, off-grid place. And then we're no longer going to be living in this thing, and we're going to use this completely for the ministry. I'll be able to bring out offline videos, teaching and preaching of God's word, and we'll take the ministry to a whole new level. No more YouTube censorship, messing around with our videos and whatever else. No more Goonie people stealing my stuff and whatever else. That's our desire. We're going to put aside our needs for having a house. We've been doing it for 8 years, 7 years, almost 8 years this month. So we'll put it aside that much longer. And for the ministry, that's what we're doing. So that's going to be it for the video. Really, 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 we need your prayers that the Lord would open up something in the area here. Some house would come up that we'd be able to buy it, to move the ministry to it full time there, and that we'd be able to meet with people in person. And so please pray for us. If you want to donate, that'd be great. That is going to be it. And we thank you in advance for your prayers. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you to those out there who have donated over the years, kept us going. And we'll see you in future videos. Thank you for watching.
Right. Hello, Deb. Yeah. I'm here, Deb. This guy in Denlinger's group is the biggest nutter, Phil. Yeah, his name's Brad. Okay, I'll go now. Yeah.